Now, one of the beautiful qualities of ikhtilaf is that differences of opinion, not just of the Muslims, but of the other nations, is that difference by its nature creates a dynamic tension in human beings. You see, if you grew up in a Muslim culture and were never exposed to a mulhid, somebody that doesn't believe in God, when suddenly you're exposed to a mulhid, what he will do, or not even a mulhid, if you leave, for instance, if you grew up in Mauritania, in the desert, you wouldn't even know that there was such thing as a kafir except by the Quran, because everybody there is Muslim. They don't even know, like in Lebanon, you can grow up with Christian, Jewish people, all different types of people in that type of culture. So you're used to that, you're accustomed to that. There are certain areas in the Muslim world still where there are Muslims that have never even seen a kafir. I mean, it's an amazing thing to think about. Now, how do you think he's going to feel when suddenly, after growing up for 20 years or 30 years, he goes to Paris and he meets a whole culture that doesn't believe in what he basically thought was the world? Suddenly he's forced to really think, what does this mean? And this creates a tension in the human heart. And this is why all of intellectual activity is a result of some type of tension. There cannot be intellectual activity without tension. And this is why in the history of Islam, some of our most brilliant thought comes as a result of the Muslims being impacted by intellectual forces that were alien to their teaching. And the beginning of this is when the Muslims met the Hellenistic Christians. When the Muslims, the Muslims had this, because Quran is not philosophy. The Quran is not even theology. There is no theology in the Quran. Theology is trying to prove the existence of God. The Quran doesn't even bother with that. Is there doubt about Allah? I mean, really, if you think about that. The Muslims didn't need somebody to come and convince them that God existed. And this is a lot of the theological exercises of the Christians, was to prove rationally the existence of God. And unfortunately, in many ways, the Muslims fell into that trap. And a lot of kalam becomes attempting to prove the existence of God, which is an absurd premise to start from. No, we have to prove our own existence. I have this book called The Problem of God by, I think his name, Angelus. David Angelus. And I think it should be retitled The Problem of David Angelus. You see, there is no, God doesn't have a problem. No, you have a problem. God doesn't need his existence to be proven. Prove your own existence. You see, really. It's like they say, Nietzsche, 1887, God is dead. Nietzsche, 1887. Nietzsche is dead. 1900, God. Right? That was the reply. You see. Because Nietzsche declared in the Gay Science that God was dead. Now, there's a whole, what he was saying is actually not trivial, in fact, because he wasn't talking about God, Allah. He was talking about the concept, the reconstruction of reality in the minds of people who literally basically just describe themselves. One of the Greeks said, if horses had gods, they would certainly look like horses. Right? And this is one of the problems of the human being. We would like to project upon God our own nature and God's nature. Glory, exalted is God above their own descriptions. One of the Jewish men in front of the Prophet ﷺ described how Allah will roll up the heavens and the earth in his fingers, and he described in somewhat anthropomorphic terms. And the Prophet ﷺ, when he heard it, ضحك, he laughed and he said, "Ma qadrullah haqqa qadrihi." They haven't estimated Allah in his true estimation. In other words, if you only knew. If you only knew. You see. So this environment that was created through this tension produced extraordinary thought.